Hi folks, part one of our final project here. We're going to create a song with different sections, as we learned that typical music kind of follows a pattern as far as how its different tracks come together to create the final mix. So typically there's kind of a building up of instruments one to the next till finally we reach another music term, which is kind of like a crescendo of all the instruments in unison. So we're going to attempt to create a song with at least 4 different sections and import them into GarageBand. We're going to start off in Groovebox here, and I already was kind of messing around this morning, and just to kind of give you a preview of what we'll be talking about, I'll run through a song that I kind of pieced together here with 5 different instruments. You see I've got 2 of these mini mons, they call them, 1 bass track and then 2 lead tracks, and I kind of mix and match which ones are playing at any given time. So first I'll be playing this first section here, and it'll kind of serve as my intro. It's just 1 instrument playing all by itself. Let's take a listen. I'll turn off the metronome. So just kind of like quick little intro, just a single instrument, kind of a build up. And then the second section, I built in another lead along with a bass track, and you'll get to hear how that transitions in the next section here. And this lead actually has 8 bars in it, so it plays for a significant amount of time. I'll transition to my next section where I add in another lead. So now I'm at this section. In this section you can see I dropped off that original instrument which was playing for those first 2 sections. It will come back in for my 4th section here. Then I just started mixing and matching my different instruments, so my next section just has the bass and the lead. So this would be kind of a lull in the song, maybe in between a verse or something like that. And then next section I bring 3 more instruments in again for a little bit more build up. And then for this last section I just kind of went wacko and I actually added in a new lead instrument just for this section, so it's actually kind of my maximum crescendo, so to speak, my the big part of my song, all the instruments coming together for when it would maybe be a verse or a chorus or something like that. So just a preview of kind of what I'm talking about by different sections to a song. So Groovebox lets us do this really easily. So I'll go through next how I kind of created this from scratch, and you can attempt your own a little bit later. So I'll try and use this dot here to emphasize where I'm tapping, but up here I'm going to go back to my project space and create a new. Actually, I needed to press the plus sign. There we go. It's going to be called Funky System. And again, I could rename that if I want to by hitting the pen tab here. I believe that's what it was. Or do I slide? That's what it is. I slide over on the name of it, and then I can change it to whatever I want. So let's say this will be called Song Sections. Okay, so let's tap into that and talk about how we can create sections. So in this case, maybe I'm just going to start with a mini mon track. And something I've learned since I've been using this app, every time you tap on the same instrument name, it's going to create a new pattern for you. So keep that in mind. So I've tapped it a few times. I like surface tension, my 3rd option here I'm going to go with. Kind of a nice little intro. Tension building. Okay, so let's go up into this button right up here next to the volume, which is our different sections, and we'll try and make sense of what we got going on here. I'm going to hit stop. So I know I've created my first section. It has one instrument. If I wanted a second instrument in this section, I could do that. But let's say for the sake of an intro, maybe we only want one instrument, which is probably a safe bet. So we're going to click the plus sign here and create our next section. For a second section, you could go full blank, or it might be wise to duplicate what you have already so that you're bringing that same instrument down into this second section. Now our first section is exactly the same as our second because we haven't added or taken away any other instruments, so let's do that. So if each row is a section, each column then is an instrument that's playing in that section. So let's hit plus. Let's add some drums. Kind of like that. Again, kind of just trying to create this build up of tension or build up of excitement. So I'll go with what I got there. And you know, I could mess around with the beat. I could go into the track view here and change the beat sequencer view and change the beats. And I can do all sorts of things, and we covered that in our previous Groovebox assignment. So feel free to tweak these, but for today I'm just focusing on song structure. So I'm going to go back into my section mix here. So hopefully that makes a little more sense so far. We have our first section here, which I can play. It just has this kind of bass line. Now my second section I can activate by tapping on it. Now has the same bass line and the drum. Let's keep adding. So I'm going to duplicate the current section. But let's say in this section I want to turn off this instrument and maybe add a different one over here. Let's try that. So maybe I don't want this doom 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 kind of bass line anymore. I can just tap and hold on that box, the green box in this case. I can just delete the pattern, and I always go with notes and automation. I could change just one or the other, but if I want to fully clear it out, notes and automation. So now this section only has so far just my drums. But let's say I want to add to that with the plus sign here. Let's add a little bass. Let's see. Oh, I hit play up here. I can barely hear it. I got a little bass. Let's go back into my section mix here. And again, I could play my own stuff. I could change the notes, do whatever I want. But again, just focusing on the sections today. So back to the section mix. So let's see what I have so far. First section was just kind of a little intro. Add to that. It's kind of a fun little build up. I'm not worried about the timing yet. That'll happen later in GarageBand, later on down the line in our project. Let's add one more section here just to be thorough. So add new. I'm going to duplicate what I have. Let's say for this section I want to mix and match a little bit. Let's say I want this green pattern back. So I can tap and hold on a section where it exists, copy that pattern, and paste it into this space. Let's maybe say I'm just going to turn on all the lights for this one, turn on a new section even. Let's go with the poly 8 here, see what I can come up with. getting picky. I'm just gonna go with that bro down. You know, like that. Kind of an aggressive little cherry on top there. So, back to my section mix, just to, again, take a look at what I've got. So, I've got my 4 sections here, kind of building up. So, first section is playing 1 instrument. Second section is playing 2 instruments. Third section is playing also 2 instruments, but it feels a little more elaborate to me. And the fourth section goes all out with everything I got here. Don't forget, you can go into a little volume here. Like, I like that bro down, but maybe it's a bit much. So what do you want to hear most of, in other words? Nice. So what we have to do to kind of complete this section of the assignment is to export all of our tracks one by one. So if we've created 4 tracks here, remember each row is its own kind of separate track at this point. For each one, we have to export up here. Kind of a pain in the neck, but not too bad if you only have a few sections to do. So first section I have highlighted here. I hit export. I'm going to click section mix. It recommends WAV for seamless looping, and that's certainly something we want to have in a moment here. So I'm going to toggle this over to WAV, file type, and then I'm going to export. Easiest place to put it is on the files on your iPad. So I'm going to click save to files. Before you just mindlessly tap save, save yourself some time for our next portion of our assignment. Change this name to something like, oh, I don't know, section 1. That might be easy to remember. And get that saved away off into your files. And do that for each track along the way. So highlight the track, or section, excuse me. Export it, create a section mix, WAV, export, save to files, change the name, section, 2. Done. Save. We're going to replace. And same with 3, section mix, WAV, export, save to files. Section 3, done, save. And last but not least, we want section mix, WAV, export. So as you can see, doesn't take too much effort, but do take that moment to save these as a good file name. So start there for today. Tomorrow we'll talk about how we can bring these sections in as loops to GarageBand, and then we'll talk about how we can bring Voloco into GarageBand as well. So we're going to bring it all together these next 2 weeks, folks. We'll keep the videos coming, but that should be a good start for today. Build up some song sections, at least 4 to 5, I would say, to have a decent kind of example song for yourself. Anyways, hope that makes sense. Reach out if you need any help. Talk to you tomorrow.